All right, so there's this narrative swirling around out there right now that the Chiefs, who are 15-2 and in the AFC Championship, they're not that good. And the only reason why they have as many wins as they do and why they are where they are right now is because the refs help them win these games. Well, I'm going to put the kibosh to that narrative. I've kiboshed before, and I will kibosh again. If you're new here, please subscribe to The Era. I really appreciate it. The numbers have been great this year. The channel is really ascending, and it's all because of your support. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm going to talk about why the Chiefs win because they're really good in this video. Not just because of the refs, not just because of luck. Maybe they're just a really good team. I'm going to unpack why in this video. I see a lot of parallels between the Chiefs now and what the Patriots were when I was growing up. And for those of you that don't know, I grew up a Patriots fan because of Brady. And then I became a Buccaneers fan when he went to Tampa Bay. Love it or hate it, I admit it, I own it. That's where my fandom was. I catch a lot of controversy for that, but I don't really give a shit. The Chiefs remind me so much of those Patriots teams that I watched growing up because they play incredible attention to detail and they don't make mental mistakes. They play clean football and they win in the details, and they win in a lot of matchups that if you're a casual fan watching on a Sunday or watching a playoff game, you're not really going to see it. But they win on so many parts of the field. They dominate their opponents. The Chiefs are a top 10 team in turnover margin. They're the second least penalized team in the NFL. And they're also top 10 when it comes to opponent fourth down conversions. So they're a clutch team. They don't get penalized a lot. And they don't really turn the ball over. They don't make mistakes in crucial times. Instead, they deliver. They execute. One thing that the Chiefs do that the Patriots were notorious for during their dynastic run in the 2000s and 2010s is they practice oddly specific plays in practice over and over again. Like the Malcolm Butler interception that sealed the Patriots' Super Bowl 49 victory, that play was practiced over and over and over again. The Grim Reaper play back in 2022, the 13-second play that the Chiefs had against Buffalo, Mahomes to Kelsey, that was rehearsed over and over and over and over again. Patrick Mahomes' touchdown throw to Travis Kelsey this past weekend as he was falling down, rehearsed over and over and over again. So that when these situations arise in big, high-stakes games like the Chiefs had against the Texans, they're prepared, they're ready, and they're confident. And that's why they execute every time. The Chiefs aren't lucky. They're great. The Chiefs are like that kid that studies math problems over and over and over again, so that when it comes to be exam time, you're looking at a problem, you're not overthinking it. You're prepared, you know it's coming, there's no surprises. There's no surprises for the Chiefs in any of these regular season or playoff games. Because, like Farmers Insurance, they know a thing or two because they've seen a thing or two. There's experience and there's preparation. The Chiefs, 9 times out of 10, they are the more prepared team on the field on any given Sunday. That's why they're as good as they are. That's why they have as many wins as they do. Love it or hate it. Luck is the manifestation of preparation and opportunity, and the Chiefs embody that. The Chiefs, they set themselves up for these lucky situations because they're situationally great. Think about it. Blocked field goals, fourth down stops, game-winning field goals. Those are all things that need to be executed, and it takes skill to execute them. People say, "Oh, it was just a lucky blocked field goal." That's just luck. Do you know that there was only 19 blocked field goals this entire NFL season? There's 18 regular season weeks, and there was only 19 blocked field goals all year in an 18-week season. It's really hard to do, but the Chiefs managed to do it against the Broncos when it meant the most. Harrison Butker, one of the best kickers in the NFL. He's great in clutch situations. You've got to be able to hit those field goals in clutch times. You've got to have ice in your veins to do that. Harrison Butker does it. He's great. That's why the Chiefs are great. Fourth down stops. Most teams in the NFL, they aren't really good at it. But the Chiefs have one of the best defensive coordinators to ever do it in Steve Spagnuolo. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to put his guys in the best situations possible to execute when it means the most. He's great. That's why the Chiefs are great. How about individual guys on this Chiefs team? Like George Karlaftis, who had 3 sacks against the Texans this past Saturday. Nobody talks about that. Everybody wants to talk about how the refs handed the game to the Chiefs on a silver platter. How about guys like George Karlaftis, who are absolute dogs in these games? The Chiefs had 8 sacks total against the Texans. Usually when you're a team, when you get sacked 8 times in a game, you don't win. That's the position that the Chiefs put the Texans in. They were getting to C.J. Stroud all afternoon. Why? Because they were prepared. They were ready. They knew that the Texans had a really beat-up, underperforming offensive line, and they exploited that. They exposed it. Great teams expose opponents' weaknesses. That's a trait that makes the Chiefs who they are. Most importantly, the Chiefs have developed a psychological advantage over their opponents that I like to call the Patriot Effect. I call it the Patriot Effect because the Patriots master the art of this psychological advantage during their dynastic run in the 2000s and the 2010s. Opponents are intimidated when they play the Chiefs. They're terrified. They're in their head. They're overthinking things. Because they know what the Chiefs are capable of. They know what the Chiefs have done in the past. And they're worried that they're going to do it to them again. They are terrified of being just yet another victim of the Kansas City Chiefs. Because they've done it time and time again. Teams felt intimidated when they'd go into Gillette Stadium for an AFC divisional game or an AFC championship game. You see Bill Belichick. You see Tom Brady coming out of the tunnel. You hear that infamous Boston Bruins goal horn go off at the Patriots play on third down. And it gets in opponents' heads. It intimidates them because so many teams have been dominated on that field in that environment in the past. Fast forward a couple years to Kansas City, Arrowhead Stadium. You hear that infamous chop going on, the chants, the drum. You see Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid come out of the tunnel. And you know it's on. Because so many teams have fallen to them in Arrowhead. And you don't want to be another. And it gets in individual guys' heads. It gets in teams' heads. It gets in their headspace. And they start to make mental mistakes against the Chiefs that they wouldn't make against other opponents because they're keyed up. They're nervous. The Chiefs don't even do this to other opponents. They do it to themselves. They beat themselves because they're playing the Chiefs. That's the advantage that the Chiefs have over them. And so people will watch these games like, oh, well, that's luck. They threw an interception on their last drive. They missed a field goal. They fumbled the ball. That's luck. Of course the ball bounced the Chiefs' way. No, it bounced the Chiefs' way because they have a psychological advantage. And it takes years to build this. It took the Patriots years to build this psychological advantage. And it's taken the Chiefs years to secure it as well. But it's to the point where, I mean, the AFC Championship runs through Kansas City every year. It's basically the Kansas City Invitational at this point. That's the level of dominance that the Chiefs have had since 2018. They've won 3 Super Bowls from 2018 to now. It's dominance. Teams know what they're going up against when they play the Chiefs. And it frightens them, and they make mistakes that they usually wouldn't make. And from a psychological standpoint, it's usually an uphill battle. And the Chiefs use that to their advantage every time they play these teams in divisional and championship games, especially at Arrowhead. And I will agree, yes, the officials, the referees, they do tend to favor the Chiefs a lot, especially in these big games, especially in primetime games. And there's a reason for that. The same crews that officiate primetime games, big slot games, America's Game of the Week games, that the Chiefs usually play in, they are the same crews that officiate playoff games. The Chiefs play in these kinds of games all the time. These officials, the team of these officials have seen the most out of in primetime slots and standalone games and playoff games, high-stakes games. It's been the Kansas City Chiefs. They're a fixture in that 325 central slot, that Sunday Night Football slot, your AFC Divisional, your AFC Championship, and it's usually the same crews that officiate those kinds of games every week, every year. So they have familiarity with the Chiefs. And when you're around the same people over and over again, eventually a relationship is going to develop. Rapport is going to build, and there's going to be trust there. Kobe Bryant detailed that in his book. There were certain referees that officiate games each and every single year in the Western Conference Finals, Western Conference semifinals, NBA Finals, standalone games. He'd single these guys out. He'd introduce himself. He'd know their name. He'd know them personally. He'd ask about their family. He built rapport with these refs so that when it got to crucial times in these games, they usually had Kobe's back. The same went for the Patriots. The same went for any team that Peyton Manning played on. And the same goes for these Chiefs. I can guarantee you Patrick Mahomes introduces himself to these refs before the game, builds rapport, gets to know them on a personal level so that when it gets to these decisive moments, they're going to lean on the side of the Chiefs. Love it or hate it, that's what smart teams do, and that's what teams who are fixtures in big games do. Because there's familiarity, and where there's familiarity, there's rapport, relationships, and trust. It may sound unethical on the surface. It's not. It happens in every sport. It's a trend that happens in every sport. Love it or hate it, that is what it is. And that's what differentiates teams like the Chiefs and the Patriots from others. Because they're there all the time. And in tight games, the ball usually is going to bounce their way. And the refs probably will favor them because they know them more than they do these other teams and these other guys on these other teams. Hate it or love it, the Chiefs won 15 games in the regular season, and they're in the AFC Championship again because they're a really good team that wins in the details. They don't make mental errors. They're well coached. They have arguably the best coaching staff in the NFL, with arguably the third or even second best quarterback of all time leading their team. This is a really good team. It's not the refs. It's not luck. It's the Chiefs. And until you beat them, Buffalo, the ball's in your court. You can beat them this weekend, but until you take this team down, they're going to continue to win, and they're going to continue to be greats because they're the Chiefs, and that's just what they do at this point. Have a great day.